Hi, welcome to Bar Cart Bookshelf, a video series about books and the drinks they inspire. My name is Elias, and today we're talking about The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. The Spear Cuts Through Water is one of those books that, much like last week's Kalina the Soothsayer, I was really looking forward to in 2022 and knew that I wanted to talk about it, but because we had a couple of theme months planned, I didn't have a chance to get around to it until just now. But wow, am I glad that I waited, because I definitely wanted to talk about it, and I definitely wanted to talk about it while it's fresh in my mind, because it's truly like such a blessing to get here at the start of the year just some books that had been saved up that were really absolutely wonderful and so to my taste, and so smart, and I think, important parts of the book community that we have here in the speculative fiction world. It's just absolutely a remarkable book, and a great one to have read right after Kalina, because there are, I think, some similarities between the two, structurally, thematically, even though they're very different books. The Spear Cuts Through Water is an epic fantasy. It is several ways of telling a story all in one, and one that I don't necessarily want to talk about in super great detail, because I think part of the joy is reading it and discovering it for yourself, but it's structurally very smart, and the way that Jimenez uses narration is very useful, not only as a storytelling technique, but also as a way of creating empathy and depth for characters in other epic fantasies who would just be sort of a one-sentence note. The way that he uses an omniscient narration in this book gets you into the heads of even very minor characters in ways that force both the main characters and you as the reader to confront some of the violence and hurt that is sort of inherent in a lot of these epic fantasy stories that we're so fond of telling. And so it's just really a very remarkable book. The main narrative is a quest story, a road novel, a journey over the course of 5 days. Almost picaresque, but not quite. The story of two young men as they travel across the old country and the land under the dominion of the Moon Throne, with the escaped moon goddess who has for 8 generations been held as a hostage of the emperors, as the sort of mother and progenitor of their lineage. And we see through the journey of these two young men, June and Kima, not only this sort of warrior ethos and deep reckonings with masculinity. It's really like, is it the best epic fantasy to deal with masculinity since The Lord of the Rings? I don't know. I certainly think it goes toe-to-toe, though. And it is one of those books where, like, specific phrases stick in my mind. Like, as a prose stylist, Jimenez is just brilliant. And we'll see that when we talk about the drink. But it's also, to borrow a phrase from the book, it's a love story down to the blade-dented bone. It's just so... It's a very rich text. There's a lot going on in lots of ways that you can read it, and I've had the opportunity in preparing this video to look at some other reviews and to see very different readings from my own, looking at the intimacy of violence between Jun and Kima, and looking at the empathy of the narration. And it's just absolutely a wonderfully thought-provoking text, a book that I think, if we can get it to enough readers, is going to be a very important work for our period. And that's, not a sort of marker that I throw around lightly. I think the last time that I said that was for Max Gladstone's Last Exit. And so it's sort of right in there for me in terms of a text. So we had to have a drink for it. Our drink today is a mocktail. It is called Holy Pilgrimage, in a name that comes from the intended pilgrimage of the emperor, but also the engagement with holiness and the sanctification that our main characters undergo over the course of their 5-day journey. So without any further ado, why don't we turn to our drink, our Holy Pilgrimage. Now I'm going to start with my coupe glass here. You see I've got a damp paper towel, and I'm going to use that to just damp the rim of that glass. Now you can, if you're preparing to rim a glass, you can use like a lemon peel or something like that. But I find in terms of actually getting enough moisture on there to get, our salt, or in this case sugar, to adhere to the rim, a damp paper towel really is the way to go. And we'll just set that aside now. Now I've got a tray of sugar down here, and I'm going to rim the edge of my glass. There we go. Just get that sugar on there, and you can see we've got that there. I'm using a turbinado sugar here, a little bit richer, darker, more caramel notes. And then, now that our glass is rimmed, we can set that aside and get to building our main mocktail. We're going to start with 2 1/4 ounces of rooibos tea. There we go. Get that down in there. There's tea that appears quite frequently in the book, but it's likely a sort of black tea or a standard camellia, a standard tea plant. But early on in the book, it's described as red, and the character pours red tea. And so for me, that's rooibos, and that sort of stuck with me as I continued to read the book, as a tea that's maybe a little out of the norm. And also we see throughout the book that red is a recurring color and a recurring motif. One of the main characters, Jun, is a red peacock, part of this elite cadre of warriors here in the old country. So we've got our 2 1/4 ounces of rooibos tea, and then we will get 3/4 of an ounce of lemon cordial. Lovely. Get that in there. There's a moment that is described as being, with this encounter with the divine, where it's described as being like a sugared lemon. And for me, that's lemon cordial. That's exactly what this is, this sort of very special, rich depth of flavor that has the tartness of the lemon, those oils of the lemon peel, and of course the sweetness of the sugar. And we'll get a bit more of course, our sugared lemon with the sugared rim of our glass. And now, these are our sort of 2 main ingredients. So we'll get our ice in with our mocktail. Lovely. And shake it up, wake it up. Lovely. Nice and frosty, nice and foamy, very good and cold. And get our hawthorn strainer. and strain into glass. You'll notice that there is still some space left in this glass. It is only about halfway full. A little harder to tell with that sort of golden sugar on the rim, but take my word for it. And so to top this off, I've got some ginger ale. I'm using a Trader Joe's ginger brew, but any sort of soft sort of ginger soda. Not quite as strong as a ginger beer, so a ginger ale will do. A ginger beer would sort of overwhelm the delicacy of the flavors that we get from the tea and the cordial. But we do want to top that off with a bit of effervescence. Sort of associate effervescence with the feeling of divinity and the transformation of divinity. And so there you have it. This is The Holy Pilgrimage, a mocktail inspired by The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. The Spear Cuts Through Water is available now. I've got a link to snag the book in the description below. It's just truly a remarkable and an important book, and one that I think everyone would be well served by reading and sitting with. Links to the Boston Shaker, where we get all of our tools and ingredients that we use here on Bar Cart Bookshelf, to various forms of social media, including Twitter and Instagram, where there are written versions of today's recipe. Please try the book. Please try the drink. Let me know what you think. Hit the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe. Tell all your friends about the books and the drinks that we do here. It really helps to find new audiences. So, until next time, cheers.